What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some recent updates, good, bad, and the ugly, everything that you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with the bullish update. So over the weekend, I did put out a video where I went over some expectations of what to expect. And I did state that the EU might be retaliating against the states because Trump did hit them with that 50% tariff that was supposed to be starting June the 1st. Luckily enough, what came out over the weekend was this. So Trump agreeing to delay the EU tariffs up until July the 9th. So even though the market largely didn't believe that Trump was going to none of those tariffs were going to come to fruition and that was more of a scare tactic, he still did delay it. So that does mean that there won't be any retaliation coming from the EU because that would really impact Lucid, the retaliation, not necessarily Trump's tariffs, but it would be the EU placing tariffs on the states. So at the end of the day, I think that's good, but it does really hit home that you might think everything is completely fine, but just like a light switch under a Trump administration, everything could change very, very fast. So I think that most likely analysts are really going to grill Lucid very hard this upcoming earnings on supply chain. So AMP1, is it now all airtight? Like if, let's say, tariffs increase with Canada or another country, does that impact Lucid? And what will that do to demand? No different than AMP2. In my opinion, I think they need to be completely separate entities and not have AMP1 kind of shipping the shells over to AMP2. I think they need to be completely separate, have their own supply chain agreements, and that way Lucid can benefit. Because as I've mentioned, even if technically a random country hits the states or the states hits back, AMP2, in theory, being a Saudi, being from Saudi right there and being produced in Saudi, they would be exempt from a lot of the tariffs. So I think at the end of the day, this is bullish, this update right here, but it really does it's an eye-opener that everything can change. So again, I see this as relatively optimistic market, and Lucid should really move higher because of that. Now talking about the bearish thing. So there was a piece of FUD that looking through some recent posts, and I saw this. So this individual who has roughly 1,200 followers on Twitter went over this and tried to compare Lordstown, so ticker RIDE, in case you don't know, they went BK, and Lucid. So found it very interesting. So they look up and they keep citing PCAOB. And so that is this right over here. So that is the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. And they're the ones that really called out KPMG, I believe that was, and for their, I guess, fraudulent kind of oversight in Lordstown. So you can kind of see right here, 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗖𝗧, managing or engagement partner at KPMG. And now you see for Lucid 2024 and 2025, this same individual. So they are kind of piecing together that this individual, which largely kind of overlooked a lot of issues with Lordstown, is going to be doing the same with Lucid. That's kind of the moral of the story. And I feel like a lot of people don't really grasp. I'm sure some people might be seeing this kind of PR or this post and seeing just red flags all over the place. But when it comes down to accounting and auditing firms, there's basically four big players. There's KPMG, there's Deloitte, EY, and then there's PricewaterhouseCoopers. It's ultimately those four. There's a lot other ones, but pretty much the big names in the market tend to stick to those four. So as far as just the correlation for 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗖𝗧 to be looking at Lucid versus Lordstown, I think it just might be sector based, right? Because every individual has a kind of niche area. So just the fact that this individual did kind of control and look at Lordstown, I think it's a little bit too far-fetched to assume that is going to happen with Lucid. In here, they also bring up a lot of their financials on how, I guess in 2021, they did fail to disclose a lot of red flags and whatever else. And again, just correlating that is going to come for Lucid. In my opinion, I think this is, again, another eye-opener. If you do believe that this is true and a very big issue, their upcoming earnings, which is going to be on June the 5th, if necessary, I can always live stream it if that floats your boat. But this is where you can kind of see point number 2, that to ratify the selection of KPMG LLP as our independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. So if you do feel very obliged to vote, you can say no, and that you can obviously force Lucid to potentially go to one of the other big firms, EY. I think they were with EY before, or Deloitte, or PwC. I think they're more European based, mind you, but nonetheless, I just wanted to bring this up because this one, I think that he's trying to piece together something that's not really that important, at least. But if you do believe, like I said, that there is some correlation between some sketchy accounting that's happening, you do have an opportunity to kind of bring up and change that. So make sure you guys do all of your voting and whatever else. So again, meeting is on June the 5th. So yeah, this is a quick update. Of course, the market's closed, not really much other things to bring up. There's no speculative topics. So I wanted to bring up a good piece of news, like I said, about the EU delays and the tariffs, and then bad news. Well, I wouldn't really consider it bad news, but at least something that it's worthwhile to be aware of, right? So this individual might be 100% on point. Is a little bit too early to tell, but if you do believe some sketchiness is happening, you can always vote. So let me know your thoughts. Hopefully everyone's having a good weekend. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good Lucid investors talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.